And now we have some news coming out of Pakistan. Afghanistan says Pakistani airstrikes have targeted several provinces near the shared border, killing at least 12 people and wounding 14 others. Taliban chief spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid announced that the overnight strikes hit civilian homes across the provinces of Khost, Kunar, and Paktika. According to Afghan officials, those killed in the strikes include 11 children, 1 woman, and 1 elderly man. The cross-border air operations mark a deadly escalation following weeks of relative calm between the two neighboring nations. While there has been no immediate official acknowledgement of these specific strikes from Islamabad, Pakistan has previously accused Afghanistan of harboring anti-Pakistan militants along the frontier. Border tensions have remained highly elevated since late February following successive rounds of retaliatory cross-border military engagements. And now joining us live to tell us more is retired Major General Gigi Dwivedi, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies, joining us live from New Delhi. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. When it comes down to this tension between Afghanistan and Pakistan, from what I'm understanding, there seems to be a lot of he say, she say, in the sense that one nation will essentially state that they have not launched strikes and the other nation will essentially determine that, yes, they have. What more can you tell us about how this creates a greater conflict, regardless of whether the strikes in this sense are factual, and how, of course, unfortunate it is that there are reports of women and children casualties? Tell us more.
Thank you, Roshan. Always a pleasure to be on your show. Well, first and foremost, I think the Pakistan-Afghanistan border remains a very volatile border in this region. And it has a historical background. Going back point in time, these Durand lines which are drawn sometime in 1893 to demarcate the border between Afghanistan and India is the root of the problem, because that line was not accepted by the Afghanistan, especially Pashtuns, and therefore this historical problem keeps manifesting. But coming to the current times, when Taliban came to power in 2021, Pakistan celebrated. They assumed that the western border will now be stable. In fact, their ISI chief Faiz Hamid was the first to land up in Kabul, but opposite has happened, and Taliban has not obliged Pakistan, and therefore these skirmishes have been ongoing, and especially in the areas of Pashtun areas. Now there was some kind of a lull in last about a month or two, because in 2024, if you go back, there was almost a declared war by Pakistan, and these hostilities picked up. But then Chinese, they had mediated, and some kind of understanding was reached. But there are two current issues. One is Pakistan keeps blaming that Taliban Pakistan is harbored by Afghanistan, and they carry out hostile activity inside the territory. And the second thing is, along with it, Pakistan policy itself to its minorities. It's not only the Pashtun areas which are actually seeing violence. There's a violence across Balochistan. Balochistan Liberation Army have been taking a heavy toll of Pakistani forces, and also recently there was also violence and riots in POK, that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So in summation, what I can say is this border is very volatile. There are historical and current differences, and Pakistan government attitude, especially the Pakistan army attitude, is very hostile and heavy-handed against the minorities. Roshan.
Right. Sir, do you see that between Afghanistan and Pakistan that there will be some sort of appeasement in time to come, that both of these nations will try to find some sort of cultural diplomacy between the two, as far as the fact that they do share a border, to essentially settle down these tensions? Tell us more.
Well, Roshan, as I said, the distrust is deep-rooted. Well, there are chances that some kind of understanding can be reached, especially China is very interested, because China has an axe to grind, because Chinese Xinjiang province, they are always worried that this spillover of militancy or the terrorism should not spill into their own territory. So Chinese have been very concerned, and they also have invested heavily in Pakistan, China-Pakistan economic corridor, which they want to take it into Afghanistan. But the problem is that given the deep-rooted hostility, distrust, and Pakistan attitude to always dominate Afghanistan, always give it a step-brotherly treatment, not treating as an equal partner, I don't think that in long run any peace is possible. So what we can see is in geopolitical development, some kind of functional understanding may be reached, but this problem is there to remain until Pakistan changes attitude, treats Afghanistan in equal terms, and then let's try to sort out the border problem through the peaceful means. But as you see, only yesterday they have undertaken aerial strike, they are using overwhelming force, killing civilians. Well, that's not the way. The problem is going to be resolved anytime soon, despite the effort of Chinese and even to some extent the Americans, because they also have a deep interest in this region, both strategically and economically. Roshan.
And sir, one last question. Essentially, when it comes down to these casualties, for example, or those injured, how do you believe that international communities are getting involved, or is this just a localized event in the sense that there are normal procedures that will essentially take place as far as ambulances and hospitals? Do the governments essentially get involved as far as humanitarian aid is concerned? Does India send any humanitarian aid or not at all? What's your take?
Well, first and foremost, Roshan, ironically, the world human rights is more of a lip service. It's they don't have any serious either policies or plans, or they have a mechanism, because this more is like a optics, and therefore, especially when the region is far away from the central, arena of the globe, like Afghanistan, then it gets brushed aside. Secondly, as far the India is concerned, we have always supported Afghanistan cause, their humanitarian, maltreatment that is being given by Pakistan. We have raised the issue over various forums time and again. But the point is that Pakistan is never going to mend its ways. It always believes in use of force, and of course, Pakistan national policy strategy is to use terrorists to pursue their aims and objectives, and Pakistan is a state which believes in proxy war. So therefore, they are going to fight Taliban, Taliban Pakistan with the homegrown terrorists like Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed. But overall, Pakistan policy has been always heavy-handed against the minorities, and they will continue to use force and treat Afghanistan not on equal terms.
Sir, especially with Afghanistan and Pakistan, it seems like you just mentioned, there have been deep-rooted tensions between both of these nations. Now, as far as essentially what is being harbored, and of course, like I just mentioned, international communities getting involved as well, what's the future hold as far as these military engagements are concerned? Do you believe that both of these nations will need an intermediary like we've seen with Iran and the US to essentially cool things down, or is that not on the cards at all?
Well, the intermediaries have tried out. China, as I said, have made sincere, earnest effort to, bring in some kind of peace and some kind of stability, but it has not happened. Because basically, when two nations, their differences are very deep, their differences are historical, they have no trust with each other, they have some ideological differences as well. All I can say is that yes, to some extent, temporary lull can be there, like we saw for last about a month, but until the basic issues are addressed, and basic issue is until the Durand line is resolved, until Pakistan begins to treat its neighbor with dignity and respect, until Pakistan changes policy of terrorism and proxy wars, I don't think this is going to be a lasting solution. Yes, Chinese may be able to bring in some kind of semblance of peace temporarily, but this issue, until addressed at the root cause, I think going to linger on, and Pakistan-Afghanistan border continues to be volatile and will be even in times to come until the root cause of the problems are resolved. Roshan.
Right. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Much appreciated. We'll speak soon as we have more developments. Now we